So what is the difference between cloud and on-premises? So on-premises, if you can see my screen, I'm showing one image to you. So on the left hand side, you can see the on-premises, which means private cloud. So here you can see the different parameter like storage, networking, compute, virtual machines, operating system, runtime, application, data access, which all you have to maintain in your private cloud. You are responsible to manage each and everything in your private cloud. So for that, you need to have some kind of teams who manage physical servers, some kind of teams who manage database and applications, networking part, and all the different parts, right? But what is the difference in private cloud and public cloud? So in the public cloud offers three kind of service. One is infrastructure as a service, second one is a platform as a service, third one is software as a service. So what is infrastructure as a service? So infrastructure as a service you can consider in Azure like virtual machines. So I'll show you list of virtual machines. So see here you are seeing a list of virtual machines. So this virtual machine is called as an infrastructure as a service. Why we call the infrastructure as a service? Because here we have to maintain the operating system. We are responsible to manage our operating system. What is the whichever the applications we want to run inside the virtual machines. So when we are using any infrastructure as a service in Azure, we are responsible to manage our data and the access applications which we have installed over the virtual machines, runtimes, like I think some kind of software, operating system we are responsible, and virtual machine. So here you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Out of 8, we are responsible to manage. I mean customer is responsible to manage all first 5 parts. And rest of the 3 parts like compute, networking and storage, which is the responsibility of the cloud provider, or I could say the service provider, which is providing a service. So basically cloud means that you are renting some kind of service, you are renting some kind of hardware, storage, everything from the third party, and you are deploying your own solution to that I could say that third party platform. So in first,
Uh, Actually, I am adding a new joining,
sure,
so
sure.
don't worry about that.
Okay, no problem. So infrastructure as a service in which you are responsible to manage your data, your application, your operating system, everything. Microsoft or other cloud provider will only be able to manage your computer, your networking resources and storage. So when you deploying any solutions to cloud, you don't need to take care on which platform or which kind of hardware your application, your virtual machine is going to deploy. You don't need to take care what the virtualization they are using. You just need to you just need to have access of your application whichever you have deployed and which is important to you. Rest of the thing will be taken care by the cloud solution provider. Second part is platform as a service. So what is the platform as a service? Let's say you are having a web application which is running in your private cloud, okay, and you plan to move because on the private cloud provider you need to manage everything like a physical hardware device and the operating system and everything. But once you plan to move your applications to any cloud solution, right? So you have a various kind of options like a infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. So let's say if you choose that, okay, I need to have one virtual machines and I want to deploy my web application into that virtual machines, then you need to take care about all these things. Microsoft will take care only about your compute, networking and storage resources, which is basically your internal networking within the cloud service, storage and all. The rest of the thing will be taken care by you. If you choose a platform as a service, so you need to take care about your data and the applications which you have developed and which you are going to deploy into the Azure. The rest of the thing will be taken care by the service cloud service provider, it can be Microsoft Azure, it can be Google Cloud, or it can be Azure. So here you can see in the platform as a service, we or customer is responsible to only manage its data and application. The rest of all the things are managed by cloud solution provider. Here you can see runtime, what is the operating system. Only when you are deploying your code or when you are deploying any applications, uh, you need to just mention the which backend operating system you want to use, whether it's a Linux or whether it's a Windows. But all these applications and patching and update and all will be taken care by the Azure or the cloud solution provider. And the third one is software as a service. So in the software as a service, I could say that we are using the Outlook, right? So Outlook, we have nothing to do with the Outlook. Just we are purchasing the Outlook from the Microsoft. Microsoft given us some kind of subscription, and we are good to go with use of this application. So we are no more responsible for anything. Just we need to make sure that okay, this application should be accessible all the time. I don't have any kind of like a downtime or any kind of issue when I'm accessing this. All the things will be, I could say that managed by Microsoft or cloud solution provider. Only we are responsible to manage the data. So I'll show you. So as a software as a service, it's kind of a solution like in Azure you would see that IoT Central Hub, which is being used for some kind of automations or sensor like that. And if I could say that platform as a service, so if I'll type this is the Azure portal. So if you did not work before on the Azure cloud, so I'll show you. This is the kind of dashboard you will see when you log in into the Azure portal. If you type like web application, so here is your search console. So whichever application you want to deploy in Azure, you can just go simply here. You can type the application like a web app. So here you can see the application service. So this is the application service. It's kind of a platform as a service. So let's say I'll show you. I'm not going to create this application, but I'll show you that how Microsoft manage this. So here I'll take you one by one. What is the resource group and all? But let me just take the resource group which I have already created. I'll give you the name. Here is Patel K. Here you are having some kind of, if you have any code or you want to use the Docker container, here you are having an operating system. So these all things you need to just select here, but you are not responsible to manage this system. Once you deploy your applications, you my service provider will be taken care about what is the Linux operating system and the operating system is updated properly or not, everything. Second thing, if you have any question, just you can interrupt me between this, okay, and we will discuss, because just I want to make this session as interactive, so we can discuss if you have any kind of query, okay, and if I'll not be able to answer, then I'll definitely just gather all your questions and I'll try to answer later. Second thing, so first thing, what is the cloud? Second thing, what is the infrastructure as a service? What is the platform as a service? What is the software as a service? When you plan to go with the Azure, so Azure has some kind of scenario like this. First, you need to make sure that how you want to deploy your solution to Azure. First thing, so let's say you are having the one applications and you want to deploy this application to Azure, and you want to make sure that my application should be available all the time. So you need to design your platform like this, that you can have access, or your customer will have all the time access to your web application. Let's say some kind of if there is anything happens with your one instance or application, then your traffic should be like moved to other instance like that. So in the Azure, there is a two kind of thing, how the Azure infrastructure is designed, like a data center I could say. So within the data center, we do have a two kind of solutions. So I'm showing the image here. You can see what how do availability set works. So in the Azure, there are two types of solutions if you want to achieve a redundancy. One is a rack level, one is a zone level. So what is the rack level, what is the zone level? So rack level, it means the availability set. So let's say you have one application you have deployed into the Azure, right? And you want to make sure that, let's say I have deployed my application within one Azure region, within one availability zone, within one availability set. So how your application gets deployed into the Azure data center. So I'll show you, when you launch any virtual machines, so okay, so here you can see in which region. So Azure do have a regions. So if you can see Azure, so from Microsoft side you will be able to see how many regions are there. So here you can see what are the regions available within the Azure, in which region you can deploy your service, your virtual machines, your web application, whichever solutions you want to use. These are the regions which are available within the Azure. So let's say I'm going to deploy these virtual machines in East US. Below the region I can see the availability options. Here when you navigate to this availability zone, you can see there are three options available. No infrastructure as a redundancy. Let's say if you select these options, you launch your virtual machines, okay, and in case, let's say anything happens with your virtual machine, because inside the Azure data center all hardware are placed in the data center, and on the platform there are sometimes it happens that Microsoft release some pages on the platform level, or it might happen sometimes that physical hardware get faulty. So you will lose if your Azure, if your virtual machine deploy on this platform, then you will not have any kind of redundancy. Second thing is availability zone, which we will discuss later. Here you will be able to see the availability set. So what is availability set? Availability set works within the single data center. So here you can see the what is an availability set is a logical grouping of VM that allows Azure to understand how your application is built into provide for redundancy and availability. So when you deploying availability set, you are making sure that your solution is available in case any rack within the Azure data center fails. Let's say I deployed one Azure virtual machines. So I deploy one virtual machines, and if you want to make sure that, okay, let's say within the Azure, in case if any one that goes down, even then my application should work and it should be accessible. So for that you need to configure the availability set, and in which when you configure any availability set, you will get an option that maximum you can put 3 full domain and maximum up to 20 update domain. So what is full domain and what is update domain? I'll show you if I can show you here. That's
Someone asking availability set is a region specific.
yeah, it can be used within the region. So let's say you are using the West US. So whichever the data center within the West US, okay, you can configure the availability set, and you can only use this availability set within that region. second thing, I'll show you here. Let's say testing VM. If I'll select availability set, I think it's available. Shall show you how we can create availability sort first. These are testing, test, AV, set, STS region. So here you need to mention the resource group. I'll talk about the resource group later. Here you need to mention the name, what is the region, and here you can see the fault domain and update domain. So fault domain by default is a 2 in this case. Update domain is a 5. So how, let's say I have created this availability set. Okay, it's getting created. So how if I put my any VM into that availability set, how it is getting how it is going to be deployed in this data center. So let's say I have created 2 fault domains. So one copy of fault domain will be deployed here. Here you can see fault domain 0 and fault domain 1. In availability set we have configured 2 fault domains. So one copy will be resided here, second one will be here. And let's say this is a reg, fault domain, it means the reg. Let's say in case anything goes wrong with the reg within the Azure data center, so your virtual machine still be available in this and you will be able to access. What is the update domain? So update domain, we could see that there were 5 domains, so it will deploy like a 0, 1, 2, 3 like this. So update, like in our normal operating system, we could see that we are getting some kind of update from the Windows update, right? And we are prompted sometimes, okay, your Windows needs to be updated. So like this, even Microsoft has to update his platform, whatever the application or virtualization which is running over the platform, they have to update, and it is called a plant maintenance. Sometimes they have to update this platform immediately due to some vulnerability, or sometimes they are informing to customer prior to update this platform. So let's say your virtual machines is deployed in update domain 0 and update domain 1 and update domain 2. So update domains is happen horizontally like this. So once
update domain is what type of update? It is update.
Correct. It's kind of patches update. So Microsoft will not update all 3 rigs together, but first they will update this rig, then this rig, then this rig. So they will make sure that your application shouldn't be hampered. You will have all the time access of your application. So first they will update this domain. It will take, I think, at least 30 minutes downtime. So once this will be updated properly, it will get rebooted and it will take at least, I think, 30 minutes. And then the second update will be performed on this. So they will first make sure that this update domain is successfully completed and it is working properly. Then they will go ahead with the update domain. So this is how we can achieve a high availability at the rack level within the data center. And the second thing is the availability zone. So each and every region has an availability zone. Let's say East US 2. Can you see here East US 2? Under the East US 2, if I select availability zone, I will be able to see there is 3 options, 1, 2 and 3. So here it is asking in the East US region, you want to deploy your virtual machines into which availability zone. And availability zone, it's kind of a data center. So let's say this is the East US 2 region. Within the East US 2 region, I have a 3 availability set. An availability set is a group of data center. You got my point?
Yep.
Okay. So so sometimes it happens that okay, your infrastructure is very small and you don't need to expand your infrastructure within the availability zone. Actually, it's completely depend on us and customer requirement that how you want to deploy your solution, how you want to achieve a redundancy, resiliency for your infrastructure. So in case, let's say I'll go with the Azure region. If I have a two virtual machines, I have a two, I want to make sure that my application should be available all the times. So sometimes it happens, let's say that I have a two web server, which I have deployed in the same region, but in the availability zone one, other virtual machines is running in the availability zone two. Both are running same application. So whenever you are sending your traffic to your applications, sometimes it sends availability zone virtual machines, sometimes it sends availability to zone virtual machine. Let's say, suppose due to some issue, due to some flood, due to some anything, any reason, your data center, complete data center, Azure data center goes down. So still you will have a one virtual machines in other availability zone. So Azure will take care that Azure will not send your traffic to this availability zone, but instead Azure will send all your incoming traffic to availability zone in which your application is available and working. For that, it want to automatically. For that, we need to deploy some kind of Azure solutions like a load balancing, because load balancing and all these things will not happen automatically, which is the these are the service which are being offered by the Azure, and we need to configure as per our requirement that how we want to achieve the higher redundancy, and we can have a higher availability of our application or whichever the features we have deployed within the Azure. So this is the Azure region and availability zone. Then I'll just take you on the Azure portal. So here you will be able to see the dashboard of the Azure. See, so do you have any idea about what is the resource group and what is the subscription, what is the account? You all are aware about this, or I'll just explain you?
Brief about it.
No, actually, mostly we are working on the AWS.
Okay.
Just answer into the
Sure. No problem. Sure. So what is the subscription? What is the resource group? What is the account? So let's say account. So this is my account. So I have logged in my Azure portal with patelk@microsoft.com. Okay, once I log in, it will create one account, and under this account, I am the global administrator of this account, under which I can create a multiple subscription. So why subscription is required? Here you can see this is my subscription. It is Patelk Microsoft Azure internal consumptions. So what is the subscription? So when you deploy any service, you must have subscription. Without the subscription, you will not be able to deploy any service in Azure. Why it is being used? Because whenever you using any Azure services like virtual machines, web application, or any kind of service, it will be deploying Azure subscription, and based on your subscription, it will consume, it will check what the billing, which service is having the how much billing. So based on the subscription, they are tracking all the billing and all. So that is why without subscription, you will not be able to deploy any services. And subscription, you can create a multiple subscription within your account, and it's completely depend on us. Let's say you have a developer, you are having a developer, you are having a networking team and a database team. So for that, if you want, you can create a different subscription. You can distribute this subscription according to your department, according to your team. So you will have an idea that how much does it cost for database, for networking service. So based on this, you will have idea, okay, my networking service costs this much, database this much, and other services this much. Second thing, and there are so many things, but here if you want to manage that who can access the subscription, all this thing you can do here in IAM role, but we are not going too deep into this because it's a very vast topic. Second thing is a resource group. So resource group is kind of a container in which you are deploying your Azure resources. It can be anything. Let's say if I go into training IG, which I have created today for you guys, here you can see I have a list of resources which we can see. Here is a virtual network, network security group, network. So let's say if you are going to create any service, let's say I'm going to create web applications. This is a training IG. So first, whenever you are trying to create any application, anything, you will see the subscription, in which subscription you want to create your resources. Second thing, you will be asked about the resource group which you have already created. If you did not create, you can just go ahead and create, you can create. And third thing, you will be asked about the region, in which region you want to create your services. So resource group is nothing but kind of a container in which you can deploy your services. Now let's go ahead with the networking service. How many networking services are available? Do you guys have any questions regarding this IIS, PASAS, availability set, availability zone, or resource group?
Yeah, someone asking about one subscription have more than one resource group.
Yeah, correct. How many resource? It depends on you. How many resource group you want to create within your subscription? There is no limit. Kunal, can you please compare subscription as an organization and resource group as a domain? So no, actually, resource group it's not kind of domain. It's kind of just a container. And subscription is not kind of organization, but you could say, let's say your organization is having a multiple departments, and you want to manage that. You want to calculate that which department service is consuming how much cost in Azure, right? Because this is what we need to understand, that if I'm going to deploy my private cloud to Azure or any other cloud, okay, what will be my cost and what is the current cost? This is what you need to differentiate. If you are hosting a lot in public cloud, then your cloud there is no meaning of using public cloud. So this is everything you need to manage. So subscription is kind of thing that you can distribute. You can give, let's say, if you have a developer team, so you can create one subscription for them. You can create resources from them. So you will have an idea, okay, whichever the service are being used by the developer is costing this much amount. So this is how you can distribute. It's not kind of an organization level, or it's not kind of within the account you can create a many subscription. Okay. And a resource group is kind of a container in which you are collecting your resources. So let's say sometimes it happens that you don't want to. Let's say I have only one subscription I have been given by my organization. I'm from the networking team, and I want to manage that within the networking team. Some of the guys should have access of these resources. Some of the guys should have this kind of resources. There are so many services within the Azure. So what I can do, I can create a multiple resource group. I can deploy the specific service into that. Let's say I have some kind of teams, and I want to give them only the access at virtual network level. So I will deploy only virtual network into this resource group, and I will give them access. So they will be able to manipulate only these things.
It means
completely.
Yeah. It means resource group is one type of role, right?
it's container only. Just you are putting your resources into one resource group, so you will have an idea that you have created these resources. Otherwise you will not have any idea that where I have created resources and where my resources are being together.
Okay.
So this is
As far as yes, Kunal Sayyed here. So as far as I understand, the resource group is just how we can consolidate all our services in a one group.
correct.
That's a development environment have their own servers and networks and groups, and staging environment have their own networks and groups. Just we can consolidate all their services in one group, so we can identify how much they cost and all this kind of things.
Correct. So even on the based on the resource group, you will be able to like put some kind of policies, and you want to have like okay, this group will not be accessible by other. It should be a I could say that read only, or someone cannot be accidentally deleted. So this kind of policy I can apply on this, but it's kind of a container only, which contains your resources which you have created in Azure.
I have it here.
Yeah.
So it means that resource group is the one parent layer in that we can create many resource and we can bind inbound and ingress and outgress roles on resource group level, right?
So, yeah, correct. So the resource group, you can deploy or you can apply any policy as per your requirement. If you additionally, if you want to apply any policy, let's say your organization wants to have some kind of group of users which you want to allow the permission for this resource group. So this is what you can do, but basic thing, reason of this container is to contain all the resources. Whenever you are creating any service, you will be asked that in which resource group you want to put this service.
So one more question. I have 3 different environments, like as you said, that testing, staging, and production.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, in testing environment, I have so many resources. Staging environment, production environment. So I will consider that the test environment is the test resource group, stage resource group, and production resource group.
Yeah.
So we can monitor billing as well according to the environment. So how it impacting the billing section on subscription billing at the end of the month?
So all the billings will be considered based on the subscription. So that is why if you want to I could say that if you want to measure how much cost, okay, what is the cost of which department, so you need to distribute the subscription, so you will have an idea, because billing will be done based on the subscription, not based on the resource group.
Okay.
Okay, and resource group is kind of thing that it just serve as a container. Let's say if you creating let's say virtual network gateway, if I create anything here, I will be asked in which resource group you want to put this virtual network gateway. Let's say this is a test. Test yes. Generation test. Okay, so here you can see resource group, it has taken test. So without the resource group, you will not be able to create any Azure services. You must deploy your service in any of the resource group. Here you can see test. So it is just kind of a container which contains your services, whichever the services you are creating, and you need to mention in which container you want to put your services. That's all.
Okay, got it. So basically the structure is like that. You have the one main organization account, then subscription part, and then resource group. Correct?
This is the
Okay.
basic.
And okay. So do you just show the billing section layout, how it reflect in
So here you can see I'm just on my subscription. So here I can see what is my cost. So currently it is saying that my current cost is $62.12. for the resources whichever resources I have deployed into my subscription server. You will not be able to see based on the resource group level. Here you will be able to see the resource group, but finally your cost will come based on the subscription.
Okay.
So this is how your cost will be calculated here. Let's start some networking services. So previously, before the cloud, how we used to work in the IT environment. So we did have some kind of on-premises data center, and even like today we do have a on-premise data centers in which we have deployed everything. First, what we have to do, let's say you are having a private data center. So first thing what you need to do, first thing you need to define what is the IP address range you want to use within your data center. So your data center is a physical entity, same as in the Azure we do have a virtual network. So let me go to the Azure portal, I'll show you. So these are the virtual network. I will create one more virtual network. So see here, whenever you create any resources, you will be asked in which subscription you want to create and in which resource group. So these two things you must select. Later you will have other options. So let's say this is a net. I'm going to create this virtual network into East US region. Here you need to mention the IP addresses range. Azure virtual so how does it work? I'll show you what is the virtual network. Okay. So how Azure virtual network works? So in the physical data center, like this is a physical data center, and you are having so many departments. Department for HR, department for IT, department for some other logistic and all. And for your organization, this is a private cloud. This is a IT department, this is a HR department, this is a logistic. So what we used to do, we are creating one major subnet like a 10.0.0.0/16. This is my entire IP range which I am going to use within my private cloud. So based on this, what I'll do, I'll segregate this main address IP prefix into this CIDR. So let's say I'll give 10.0.0.0/24 to IT department, 10.1.0.0/24 to HR department, 10.2.0.0/24 to this department. So this is how we used to segregate. We used to segregate these things into private cloud. But when it comes to the Azure, so how it works in Azure? So in Azure, first you need to create a virtual network. This is a logical boundary of your network, and there is no limit how many amount of I would say that virtual network you want to create, you can create. There is no limit for creating virtual network. So let's say this is my virtual network, and 192.168.0.0. So this is my logical entity within Azure. Now, whichever infrastructure as a service I want to deploy, what I need to do, I need to create a subnet like this, and then based on the subnet, I can segregate my major prefix into CIDR. Let's say this is a web application subnet. This is an application server subnet. This is database. This is how you can create different subnet. This is how you can give the subnet range to your subnet. So this is how you can create your virtual network, and in which you can create a multiple subnet as per your requirement, and within the subnet you can place your web application or your database, whichever instance you want to deploy within your subnet. So this is how virtual network works. I'll show you how you can create. This is the basic things. This is a name. You have to give the name, which name you want to give for your virtual network. Here is the region, East US I have taken. Here is the IP prefix you want to define here, and here at least you need to create one subnet. Let's say I create web server. I have given 192.168.0.0/24. Once you proceed, you will be asked about some kind of questions like you want to use the Bastion host. This is one another networking service which I'll give you some basic idea what is the Bastion host. DDoS protection. So it will help you. Let's say if any attacks is happen on your virtual network machines which you have deployed within the virtual network, so you can take a benefit of DDoS protection and firewall. So as of now we are not using any firewall because firewall is like a different portion. It's a completely different Azure services. So here we are simply just creating virtual network. So like this we can create a virtual network. So I have already created, I'm not going to create this virtual network, but here you can see, and it would look like this. So I have created Azure Virtual Network. Once you create the Azure Virtual Network, you will see what is your address space. Later, if you want to add any other like 192.168.0.0/16, you can add here and you can save it. Here on the left hand side, under the setting plate, you can see the subnet. So whichever subnet you have created, I have created one web server subnet, so I can see that okay, this is my subnet. What are the available IPs? So I have given total 24 subnet, and available IPs are this. Security groups. So network security groups, which is kind of a security which provides by Azure at subnet level as well as at the NIC level. So let's say I have a virtual machines deployed into this subnet. This is my virtual machines. Simply you have created these virtual machines, and now you want to access these virtual machines from the private cloud. Okay, so from your laptop, once you deploy any virtual machines, you want to access these virtual machines from your laptop. How you can access? So as soon as you create these virtual machines, network security group will be assigned to this. So in the same, I have created one web server 1. This is a part of Azure Virtual Network. On the right hand side, if you can see here, this virtual network is this virtual machine web server 1 is a part of virtual network, under which it is a part of web server subnet. Under the networking blade on the left hand side, you can go ahead. Here is the basic information. You can see what is the public IP address of this web server, what is the size I have selected. So there are multiple size available. Which size you want to select, it completely depend on us. So I have created this virtual machine with the standard D4 as version 3 and it has a 4 CPU and 16 GB memory. I am using the Windows Server 2016 data center. Here we can see the details, that locations I have created East US zone, and under East US zone I have selected zone 1. So this is the availability zone which I have created. So once you create your virtual machines, you will not be able to move your virtual machines with any availability set or availability zone. So you need to make sure before you are creating any virtual machines, you need to make sure how you want to deploy your virtual machines, whether it is in availability set, whether it is in availability zone. So before deploying anything, you need to make sure your design, the way you are accessing your resources from on-premises to Azure or anywhere across globe to Azure. So this is because everything is depend on the latency. Let's say I am from the India and I have deployed this virtual machine in East US, and all my users or the end users which are using these applications, they are belong to India, and they are saying, okay, that I'm facing a latency, I'm facing a slowness. So we need to make sure that when your all the users are belong to India, then you must have to deploy your solution in India. So they will get a better performance, they will not have a latency issue and all. Here I just, for testing purpose, I have created this in US Zone 1. So here on the left hand side under the networking blade, we can see the network interface of this virtual machine. When you create any virtual machines, I'll show you. It won't create only the virtual machines, but it will also create all the dependent resources which are necessary for these virtual machines. Let's say I have created a test virtual machines. So when I create any test virtual machines, it will also create a public IP address. It will also create a network security group. It will also create a data disk which is necessary to store your, I could say, the data. It's kind of a disk. So these four things will create it at the same time. So now I have created these virtual machines and I want to access this virtual machine. So I can copy this IP address from here. Otherwise you can go here, you can simply type mstsc and this is how you can access. Once you give the username and password, you will be able to access your virtual machine. So this is how it looks like. Second thing, the network security group which we were talking about. So network security group can be used as two level. One is a subnet level. This is a subnet. Here you can attach network security group, and second thing, network interface of these virtual machines. So it's completely depend on us how we want to associate our network security group to whether it is on subnet level, whether it is on NIC level. So let's say I have two different virtual machines in the same virtual network, and I have two different network security group attached to each and every virtual machines. So and if you want to make a communication between these virtual machines which are part of same subnet, then you need to make sure that your traffic is allowed in the network security group. So here you can see the network security group. There is some kind of rules like inbound rules, outbound rules, application security groups, and load balancing. So what is the inbound rules? Let's say I'm accessing these virtual machines. Okay, so when I go to this virtual machines, I have make sure that my port 339 is allowed. Can you see here? So when you go to the 339, you need to make sure from which source, from which port, which destination you want to access, which services you want to access. Here you will see the list of, but I have selected custom. I have mentioned the 338980 and here 105. Let's say if I disable my service 3389.
So Bhuvan, actually I have one question. When we are attaching our security group with our virtual machine, it is a stateful, right? It is stateful or stateless?
No, it is a stateful. It is a stateful virtual network security group.
And it's when we require in subnet, it is a ACL, right? Access control list.
No. Both the network security group are same. Let's say if you want to attach the same network security group at subnet level and as well as on the NIC level, you can do this. No problem. So here, if actually it depends on, because sometimes it happens that okay, your web application server is having only the web servers and which all have a similar kind of applications running, so you don't need to place any network security group at the NIC level. What you need to do, you need to just place one network security group and you can allow the access for inbound and outbound for all this server with single network security. Because if you are having a let's say 10 network security group, you have to make sure if you have attached network security group in NIC level, you need to make sure that each and every rule is properly configured to allow the communication among the I would say that web application server and inbound and outbound from internet to internet. So it would be great that if you have a separate subnet for your web application, separate subnet for your application, separate subnet for your database, and then you can create a single virtual network security group, and based on this network security group, you can define a specific rule. Okay, only traffic from this specific destination should be allowed for this database. So this is how you can configure the rule. Here you can see the same thing I have created. I think I have removed the 3389. Okay, let's say I'll remove the 3389. And if I select here, so I have created this rule in the inbound. And so just forget about this first 3 rules, 1, 2, 3, and last one I think you will be able to see that 350. Forget, because it's our internal, you will not be able to see when you create any virtual machine, but you definitely will be able to see last 3 network security group. So this is a default rule, and you need to make sure that these are, I think you will not be able to delete even this. See, you will not. Why this is there? So first rule is saying that your all the traffic among the virtual network is allowed by default. Second thing, if you have deployed any load balancer, your traffic from virtual network to load balancer is default allowed. And the last one is a denied rule. So rest of the communication is denied if it is coming from internet to your subnet or your virtual machines. So any questions over network security group?
No one
I have a question.
Yeah.
In security group, there is a default rule which is added, is shown that we have some 300. Where are the default ones?
Yeah, these are the default. Whenever you create any network security group, this is the by default route which you will see in your network security group. If you want to create any, let's say if you want to allow 3389 traffic, if you have deployed any server virtual machines in Azure and if you want to take a RDP of this, so for that you need to allow 3389 port from some specific source to your destination, it means your virtual machine. So you need to explicitly define the rule here that from this source to this destination traffic should be allowed for this port number.
Okay.
So here you can see I have selected any, but you can select any specific IP address if you have. Here also tagging. So tagging is most specifically used for the Azure resources. Let's say that you have deployed some kind of Azure load balancer or any other service Active Directory and you don't know, right? Because within the Azure provides list of specific set of IP address to specific service, but this IP address will change. It will not be fixed for that service. So for that, what Azure come with Azure tag. So you don't need to make sure which IP address you have allowed. Instead, you need to just set a tag for that service. That's all.
Okay. Got it. And I haven't configured like load balancer. So how it will be like default security group? It will come in a default security group.
So no, actually this is a default security rules, and which is
Okay.
necessary when you have a load balancer. So why it is necessary? It will allow a communication between your load balancer to virtual network. So that is why this rule is placed, and you will not be able to delete this rule as well. This is a default rule. And this is a necessary to make a communication between Azure load balancer to Azure virtual machines or the virtual network resources.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Third one is a DNS part. So if you want to create, if you, let's say by default on the virtual network level, you have a DNS option on the left hand side. If you navigate to the DNS server, you will have here options. So by default, it is providing the option that you are this virtual network is using the Azure provided DNS. Instead, if you want to have your custom DNS, you can go up here and you can configure your custom DNS. So all the resources which are in the virtual network will be using this DNS for any DNS queries.